Well, hello and welcome back to the Lamppost Listener. My name is Daniel.
I'm Phil.
And this is a podcast where we chronicle transcendent truth by traveling further up and further in to the classic works of children's literature.
This is Season 10, Episode 19, The Eagles, which covers Chapter 18 of The Hobbit.
Chapter 18 of The Hobbit, The Return Journey, the end of Bilbo's journey. Well, that's not true.
The beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end. It's the end
it's
of all.
It's a two-chapter exit.
Yes, the end of all that happens on the quest, but then the journey itself. Tolkien, he had so much fun writing these two chapters. This is true. Don't look it up, but I promise this is true. He had so much fun writing these two chapters that he said, you know what I'm going to do when I write the new Hobbit, a.k.a. The Lord of the Rings, I'm going to have 10 chapters that end the book. I remember reading The Return of the King for the first time, or maybe like skimming through it for the first time before the movie came out. And I remember realizing that, spoiler alert, from 1954, or 55, that Frodo...
You watched these movies in 1955?
Oh, shush, that's not what I mean. That Frodo destroys the ring in the third chapter of book 6. I'm like, oh, there's like 10 chapters in this book. There's a lot more to go.
If this were modern day, I would be very much braced for, it was a decoy ring.
Oh, yeah.
And Gollum's going to come back out of the lava and he's stronger than ever.
That's going to be in the new remake. It'll happen eventually. So Phil, we have the return journey here. Bilbo is going to come to in a moment. He's going to say his goodbyes, and then he's going to begin a long journey home. It's an even chapter, the last even chapter of The Hobbit. This is your last summary for Bilbo and his friends. Would you like to go ahead and read what you've written?
I'm strangely relieved. Put a lot of work into these.
These were the hardest ones. Narnia, a lot easier. Princess and the Goblin, a little bit easier. There's just a lot more that had. Tolkien's a little bit more dense than
there's a lot more that happens, and there's more subtlety.
Yeah,
there are things that happen that you have to really pay attention to, because you don't want to be the co-host who says the wrong thing or misses something key in their summary. Speaking of which, a summary of Chapter 18. After the battle concludes, Bilbo wakes up completely alone. He is reunited with Gandalf and rushed to Thorin, who is moments from death. The king under the mountain expresses his desire to part in friendship, and Bilbo weeps as he passes away. The events of the battle that the Hobbit missed while unconscious are relayed, including the story of the Eagles and Beorn. Bilbo receives 2 small chests of silver and gold, and before the Elven King departs, he gives him a necklace of silver and pearls as a small return for partaking in his wine and bread. Later, as he looks back at the mountain, now far away, he begins to feel fatigue and a desire to return home, growing ever stronger.
All right, there is Chapter 18. And I guess we should jump right in here with Bilbo, waking up. When Bilbo came to himself, he was literally by himself. He wakes up. He's all alone. The battle is over. Now, you and I, at the very end of April, beginning of May, published our commentary on the Battle of the Five Armies, the movie, and I honestly think the movie was a lot better if it just had done this instead.
Oh, really?
I don't think we need all the battle. I think this is great.
It was about 40 minutes too long.
Yeah.
That's how we both felt.
This reminds me of the way in chapter between 16 and 17 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, when the battle occurs between Aslan and the witches' forces. This a lot of it happens off screen, and it keeps the focus on our characters who don't really, Bilbo doesn't have much to do in the battle anyways. So he wakes up, he comes to, realizes they probably have won, and a man is coming towards him, looking around. And when Bilbo cries out, he realizes he's invisible. So someone's like, who's there? Who's shouting out? And we find out that actually a decent amount of time has passed since Bilbo was knocked out, but no one found his body because it's invisible.
Right. And his regret is not that he could have been back with people, but that he could have spent a warm and comfortable night in bed.
Yes.
Which already that Hobbit side is coming back.
Yeah, and Tolkien says something near the end of this chapter where he says the Baggins part of him is growing while the Took part of him is kind of subsiding a bit as this begins. And this is maybe the first place where we see that Baggins part continue to kind of come back stronger than it's always been there. It never went away, obviously. Throughout this whole book, he's longed for this, but it already pretty quickly comes back once he realizes that he's safe.
Right.
So he does go. He gets taken back. Gandalf is so pleased to see them. He said we've talked a lot about luck. Gandalf acknowledges that, even I thought your luck might have been over. And Bilbo notices even Gandalf's hurt. Everybody has some wounds from this battle. But more importantly is Thorin, right? Thorin is laid up in a tent, his armor taken off. He's got his notched axe cast upon the floor. And
he's wounded with many wounds.
Yes.
Apparently he was renting his armor. What does that actually mean? What is rent armor?
So it's similar, same origin as the word rend, R-E-N-D. Think about like Joel, where it talks about to rend your heart. Remember that kind of to like tear your heart. Rent here, original origin is that word rend, or maybe it's vice versa. Maybe actually rent comes first, and then we get the word rend from it. But it's a tear, a rip.
His armor's
his armor's like been it's been I don't know if the right plural rented. That doesn't feel right. Like
rinsed.
I guess I don't know. That's interesting. But yes, his armor has been ripped and torn apart, lacerated might be a better kind of word to use.
Yikes.
Mm-hmm. So his armor's there. Tell me a little bit about this conversation that they have. One of the really most important conversations in the whole book.
Yes, very, very brief. He basically says goodbye. Bilbo says goodbye to him. Thorin corrects him, and then he's gone. He starts and ends both times with farewell. He says, farewell, good thief at the beginning, and then at the very end he says, but sad or merry, I must leave it now. Farewell. To me, there's an urgency. He knows he's about to die. He's trying to get what he wants to say out. There's a very brief response from Bilbo, but it feels very quick. And the overall impression I get is that Bilbo got there just in time to see him right before he passed, which, again, to me, is very suspicious that someone else is at play and working through that timing.
Oh, that he's able to
He wasn't found until just the right moment. And then even Gandalf whisks him away to exactly where he needs to be.
Yeah. And yet he only has these 2 paragraphs that in the text here that he speaks to Bilbo. One paragraph, then Bilbo, says how sorry he is of what's happened. Then Thorin replies again, and then it's over for Thorin. But both of those are packed with such important tidbits. Not that tidbits are more significant than that. They're packed with some really important truths here. The first being, Thorin says, since I leave now all gold and silver and go where it is of little worth, I wish to part in friendship from you, and I would take back my words and deeds at the gate. It's interesting. You might assume, especially if a child's reading this, that he might say, okay, well, I'm going where all my gold and silver is of little worth, so you can have it. That's not what he says, right? Thorin is actually doing something more important than just this kind of material thing. He's saying, I'm going where none of this matters, and so I actually want to make things right with you. Our relationship is more important. And I think this feels actually weightier given what happened in the last chapter. I mentioned Corey Olson had pointed out in chapter 17 that we covered in the last episode, how by Thorin throwing down the wall and saying, everyone come to me, with the gate of the mountain now open and fighting, that really it's not a deathbed like change of heart here. It actually happened before he was about to die, right? It happens during the battle when he's healthy. And so I had never really thought about that before. I'd always read this as Thorin is dying and now he kind of wants to make peace with it all. Whereas Dr. Olson actually points back, and there's other Lewis scholars doing a similar thing to say, no, this actually isn't a like deathbed conversion that is occurring here. It happened in the last chapter during the fight. In fact, he dies a hero. It's not he dies this tragic way and as he's dying tries to make amends. Mm-hmm. No, it actually already happened.
We're seeing the results of it.
And we're seeing the results of it, exactly. And so when we then get to the second paragraph where he says that very famous line, if more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. It actually is not someone who has seen the light just because he's about to die. It's a truth that he actually recognized before he was in a lethal place, before he was about to die in the battle. Well, I guess it's kind of a lethal place, but you know what I mean? Before he was actually mortally wounded.
Yes.
There's also, too, I want to point out, Bilbo says, he's glad to have shared in your perils more than any Baggins deserved. And you actually have Thorin responding just a bit earlier in this conversation, there's more in you of good than you know, child of the kindly West. And so you see Thorin kind of name the greatness that he sees in Bilbo, which Bilbo really has not lived up to for most of this book in Thorin's eyes.
Right. I would like to start a campaign for that quote, if more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarded gold, it would be a merrier world. That should be on more bumper stickers. In addition to the not all who wander.
You know what's funny?
Are lost.
I just finished chapter 10. I don't remember what chapter it is. Maybe it's earlier than that, 8 or 9. I finished the chapter Strider in
that has that quote.
Fellowship that has that because it comes in that letter that Gandalf leaves with Butterbur at the prancing pony that Butterbur forgets to send to Frodo. And it always bothers me when I read that because it feels like so many people take that line out of context, Yeah. Or the not all that glitters is gold too. It's like it's kind of a little bit telling the opposite. We don't have to do this. It's not a Lord of the Rings podcast, but yeah.
Yeah.
This line, this is a better line. This should be it.
That's my main point is that I think this one should be used more. And it really, it's one of those things where like you and I can both see that lots of people have highlighted it. But I think it strikes at a very deep place in our hearts because this is what we want. It's the food, not the food necessarily, but the cheer and song. And what that to me means is community and fellowship above hoarded gold. And you're also, I think he's had even more time to think about it since the battle. And he saw so much. Mm-hmm. And now that we know the details of it, now that we've watched the 47-minute fight scene, you know how gory it was. And how, in retrospect, how silly that was. But you have to remember, just a few chapters ago, he was saying, no, absolutely not. And he's very, very stubborn. And for someone like that to change their mind is beautiful.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it happens right at the end. He doesn't get to enjoy the benefits of that wisdom.
But you do get the sense that this is, because I told you we use this in some of our catechism at my school, in this kind of response to St. Augustine on Christian doctrine and kind of the right ordering of loves. And you get the sense that Thorin did actually value these things until he didn't, right? The Thorin who wants to reclaim again, the movie doesn't do this as well at all. But I think in the book, Thorin does come across up until the dragon sickness, up until he gets to Erebor, as someone whose desire to reclaim the Lonely Mountain is not, I want my gold back. I mean, sure, that's nice too, but it is more of the food and cheer and song. Again, those aren't the only three things that matter. There are other things that are important alongside food and cheer and song. Mm-hmm. But for them, reclaiming their homeland was about reestablishing community, right? Reestablishing the kingdom, which with it, what do you think about with a kingdom? You think about the feast. You think about those food and cheer and songs, the things that happen in the castle feasts of a king and a queen. And even though that was his goal, once he got there and the dragon sickness kind of takes over, that's when his loves become misordered. And now he's valuing hoarded gold. above the food and cheer and song. And it's not, again, to say that Tolkien is making some kind of Gnostic argument here that all materialism is bad and all gold and silver is bad. In fact, as we move into later on, maybe I'll talk about it now here in this chapter, even though we still have, it's about another 2 or 3 pages ahead of where we are. We actually see here in the story how the new king, Dane, who will become king under the mountain after Thorin's death, actually uses his wealth and the gold. The hoarded gold actually is used, it's not hoarded any longer, but the gold is used to actually strengthen these things, right? What does Dane do? It says, for Dane dealt his treasure well. So he actually uses it to give it away, build good relationships with the men, with the elven king, and to continue to help flourish more. Like that's what we know Tolkien, big fan of kings, very much likes the idea of a good, benevolent king. And what does this benevolent king do? He gives away his wealth. And this is not some kind of like communistic. That's not what Tolkien is saying, where he's like, oh, just like completely kind of share all of it equally amongst all. He's actually saying almost kind of the Platonic idea of a philosopher king that rightly, kind of in a hierarchical structure, gives these things away. And that's what I think Thorin messed up. It's not, again, that we see food and cheer and song being all good, gold being all bad. It's more of, if you put them in the wrong order, they don't do what they're supposed to do. Gold can be used to strengthen your kingdom, to give to others, to build relationship, but not more than the food and cheer and song can do.
Yeah, and I love that the lessons that Thorin has learned here are immediately taken in by the next person to follow.
Yeah.
And there's a beauty in that as well. But it's so sad that he dies right here, and you even feel in the way that the dialogue almost feels rushed, because he's trying to get all this out, and then he says, "But sad and merry, I must leave it now. Farewell," and then that's it. And you don't even fully grasp that. Is that actually it until you hear Bilbo say that he wishes Thorin were living, but he's glad that they parted in kindness.
And poor, by the way, Fili and Kili died off screen too. They we get no goodbyes from them. Yep. They're done. Well, before we move on from that, we do learn that Bilbo learns what happened during the battle. Tell me about the battle itself. What we missed while Bilbo was just taking a little snooze.
There was lots of eagle goblin action, and then even then it didn't seem like it was going to go in the good guy's favor. But then Beorn showed up, and I love this pull from so much earlier in the book. The fact that he shows up, and then the way it's described, where he is so much larger than usual.
Yeah, he's like grown to giant size in his wrath.
So fun.
Yeah. I love this idea that he comes in, and that fear that kind of was hanging over that entire chapter when we were in his house, but he was fine. But you go, okay, good. No, we had good reason to be very frightened of him, because it seems like he, not single-handedly, but he does a lot on his own here.
Here's a one-sentence example. The roar of his voice was like drums and guns, and he tossed wolves and goblins from his path like straws and feathers. That is terrifying. Yeah. Glad he's on our side.
Also very anachronistic, the kind of thing that we will not see in The Lord of the Rings. To have
drums and guns.
Drums and guns, yeah. That's a very Hobbit-only kind of Tolkien.
What's your favorite thing that pulls you out of a story in a fantasy novel? For me, it's the use of the metric system. It's like, that's not...
What fantasy novel uses the metric system? What fantasy novel uses the metric system?
I think I just heard it in... a TV series, which reminded me of someone talking about it in a fantasy. I don't read those series that do that. But
okay.
Someone told me about it.
You like Google it. You're like, is this going to have anything that pulls me out of the story? Well, measurements really do that for me.
So this is not a perfect example, but the TV series Foundation, they used the metric system recently.
Okay.
And I thought, okay,
that's science fiction. That makes sense, right?
It's science fiction. It's 10,000 years in the future, ballpark. So it could kind of make sense, but I'm also like, come on, everything else has changed. You have a different alphabet, you have all this.
Oh,
other
you have a different
stuff
alphabet at this point.
that's completely different, and you're still calling it the metric system. It's a good system, but it's not. It's not going to be there.
It's not good enough for us.
Yeah, we love to change it.
I think everyone's moved to the what do we call the imperial system?
Yeah, it's going to be. It's literally about an empire. There's no way they're still using the metric system.
Is there? Could you tell me how many feet are in a mile right now with our system? That's a little chaotic.
Just under 6,000.
Yeah, 5,280.
Yeah. What else you got?
All of our there's 1,760 yards in a mile too.
Did you know that the meter is shrinking?
No, that's not true. What are you talking about?
The thing that they have at the place that says like this is what a meter is.
That's not a thing. That's
smaller.
a meters. This is it's 100 centimeters. That's what a meter is.
And then who decides what the centimeter is?
Well, it's 2.54 inches.
They take the meter and they divide it up into 100 different pieces. But they have a thing that is.
I literally cannot tell if you're messing with me or not right now. I'm not sure. I'm like, I don't know. There's like it's in the same. You got to go to what's the town where you have Greenwich Mean Time. Like you got to go to like it's like in that same town.
That's a Dr. Seuss thing. The Grinch's Mean Time. Look, if you're at Lowe's and you buy a meter stick,
yeah,
and then you go to Home Depot and you compare it, and one of them's different. Who's going to settle that? You have to go all the way to whatever place in the UK does this and say like, hey, can I see the meter? I need to measure this. But apparently the thing that they're trying to keep that measurement for, it's shrinking. Because things degrade over time.
This is wild. All right. So let's go back to the story.
It doesn't happen with a cubit.
I'm gonna Google this later. I want to know more about it. That's gonna be like I want to go on a trip to find the like
meter.
Yeah, is it like in a museum somewhere? Can you go look at it? Like, is it hidden? Like it's too secretive.
Yeah, I heard about it on the podcast, not Freakonomics, but it's Steve Dubner's other endeavor. I think it's like a game show where you're trying to tell someone something. Oh, it's called Tell Me Something I Don't Know.
Okay.
And they talked about how the meter is shrinking.
Yeah. Okay. Now we know. So Bilbo does. So after he learns about the battle, learns about the way that the eagles showed up and helped save the day alongside Beorn. It's time to go home. He talks to Gandalf and says, "When can we go home?" And Thorin is buried. The Elven King brings back Orkest, buries Thorin with it. There's a really cool line to kind of just build some, do some world building here, where we're told that Orkest, which we know was a sword from Gondolin, is glows blue whenever the city is close to being attacked, and so then you can't surprise the city, which is, or you can't surprise the mountain in the kingdom, which is really a fun detail that Tolkien throws in there
because it's just always there. Invisible.
I guess that he's buried in a place where you can still see the sword. Obviously, it's not like every day they're like we have to open his we have to open his casket once a day just to make sure the sword isn't glowing.
You think you've got a hard job?
Yeah. What's your job? I open the casket.
I've got a 12-ton piece of stone that I have to
pull,
slide off. Why don't we put the Orkest on top of
it? Just call it a day. I think that's what they did.
Brilliant. So
Dane does become king under the mountain. We're told there was, of course, no longer any question of dividing the horde in such shares as had been planned. To Balin and Dwalin and Dori and Ori and Nori and Owen and Glowin and Bifur and Bofer and Bomber, or to Bilbo. Yet a 14th share of all the silver and gold, wrought and unwrought, was given up to Bard. For Dane said, "We will honor the agreement of the dead, and he has now the Arkenstone in his keeping."
Okay, hold up. Why is there no question about it? Are they all sharing it now?
I'm going to read that. The next paragraph will tell us a little bit about this. Even a 14th share was wealth exceedingly great, greater than that of many mortal kings. From that treasure, Bard sent much gold to the master of Lake Town, and he rewarded his followers and friends freely. To the elven king he gave the emeralds of Geryon, such jewels as he most loved, which Dane had restored to him. I think a big part of it is, I think two things. One, I think if we're told a 14th of the share is enough for Bard to then be giving out in and of itself, it's like, what were they going to do with all this treasure? What do you do? There's no way. A 14th share can only be hoarded, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think there isn't much use in that. In fact, Bilbo, we're going to learn, only takes 2 chests with him, which we know from Lord of the Rings is more than enough to make him wealthy.
It lasts a long time.
For a very, very long time.
Artificially extended lifetime.
Yeah, well, he already is wealthy back, obviously, in the Shire itself. And so I think instead, again, what is recognized is the wealth can be used, but it's not just to be hoarded, right, over and over again. You and I have talked about this too, just about how it's in Dante does this, and I'm gonna forget which level of hell this is. So vamp for a second because I want to get the right one.
Level 1. You have to be careful with these levels here. I was going to make a joke, but I'm going to hold it back and leave it up to the listener's imagination. Here's my question. Real vamping. They only take 1/14 out of it. What happens to the other 13/14? Does it just stay there? Because what you also don't want to do is you don't want to flood the entire local economy with cheap gold, and then if everybody has it, then it's not going to be worth as much.
Yeah, Mansa Musa learned that pretty badly in the what was it, the 14th century, I guess. I mean, he like destroys the entire economy of Egypt because you know about the story, right?
No.
So you know who Mansa Musa is, right?
No.
Okay, Mansa Musa is most likely the most affluent person to ever lived. He was the emperor of Mali. And Mali became incredibly wealthy in 13th and 14th century, so 1300s, because it was in a part of Africa, the Mali Empire was, that was between the southern and the northern parts. And so they didn't have a lot of resources themselves, but they taxed the salt and the gold that went between the two and became incredibly wealthy. So Mansa Musa eventually becomes king or emperor at some point in the 14th century. So like 1315 or 1315, around there. I don't know. I might be off by a little bit here. And he is he's a Muslim ruler. And so, one of the pillars of Islam is he's got to go on his pilgrimage, right? He's got to go on his Hajj. And so he does this. And when he takes his pilgrimage to Mecca, it's almost 3,000 miles. He takes, I believe, I'm not making this up, I believe he takes almost 20,000 people with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you thought you rolled deep.
And in a time, maybe it's not 20,000, but it's more than, I know it's more than 10,000. I know it's more than 10,000.
Whoever fact checks this episode,
no, look it up.
They're gonna make so much money.
No, look it up. It's definitely more than 10,000 people.
So it's between 10 and 20.
10, 20. That's still, even if it's only 10, that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
So he goes on. He's very religious. He goes all the way to Mecca, but they would stop on I think it was every Friday, and they would build a mosque wherever they were. There's a lot of mosques now kind of on this route, at least there's maybe ruins of some.
They would stop once a week and build a mosque.
I'm not joking. They would stop once a week and they would build a mosque. Well, again, some of this stuff has fallen into legend, okay, right? But eventually he makes it to Mecca, right? And then I believe it's on the way back. That when they get to Egypt, he's just kind of maybe it's on the way there. I don't know. At some point, he goes through Cairo. Okay, as he goes through Cairo, he gives away a ton of gold. and he legitimately destroys their economy because he gives away so much gold that gold is meaningless, and he pretty much destroys the Egyptian economy. I don't know how we got onto this topic. Sorry.
I think about that a lot. Where it's kind of like a monkey's paw. You get exactly what you wish for.
Yeah.
So you got to be really careful what you wish for. And if you said, "I want all the money in the world," well, then all the money in the world would become useless because no one else has any.
Yeah.
So they can't.
You can't do anything with it.
You can't do anything with it.
So we were talking about Dante. It was interesting is Dante actually puts the people guilty of greed, both the hoarders and the wasters, into the same level of hell. They're the ones that kind of roll the stones over and over again at each other, like shouting insults and kind of showing how they misuse their wealth. And for Dante, he's saying that the people who spend all of their money are just as bad as the people who keep all of their money. And I think some of that is really shouldn't be lost on us as we read this penultimate chapter of Tolkien, because it's hoarded gold, right? It doesn't say if more of us valued food and cheer and song above gold, which I think that's also good too, right? To value food and cheer and song above that. But it's hoarded gold that becomes a problem. Where do the dragonish thoughts come from? Well, they come from literally sitting on the gold and keeping it simply for the sake of keeping it, hoarding it, right? And I think one of the best ways to kind of push back against that temptation to hoard is to actually use the wealth to give. And we see Dane do that. And it's not just giving. It's not the Mansa Musa way of just, I'm going to give it all away and destroy Lake Town's economy. It's actually, I'm going to give it away strategically in ways that actually build and strengthen relationships between various kingdoms and actually lead to the flourishing of everybody that's here.
Yeah.
In general, I know you haven't read Dante yet, but you should go. You got to read the Inferno.
Yeah.
I think especially...
How long is it?
34 cantos.
How many meters is that?
Well, there's about 33. There's a lot of threes there. No, it's not that long. It's maybe a lot of translations are like 200 pages. It's not super long. I've got a couple translations. I'll give you. Former guest of the show, Jason Baxter, did his own translation the last few years. So I know he's done. Maybe I'll put that in the episode's description. I have not read Dr. Baxter's translation yet, but I know he did Inferno. I know he's done Purgatory. I know he's working on Paradise. I don't know if Paradiso has been released yet or not. So. But I think you'll read that.
In it. It's one of those things that has always seemed like this inaccessible.
No. It's significantly. I mean, the translation matters, but it's significantly more accessible than you think. Again, remember, Lewis thinks it's the greatest poem ever written, and when you go and read it, you come across something like this. You come across this fourth circle, and again, Dante is not a theologian; he's a poet, right? But he has so much truth weaved into this story that you get to the fourth circle and you realize, I think I remember the first time I read this, I at least got through this part as an adult. It was when I was young, relatively recent out of college, and I thought there's literally nothing wrong with me keeping all of my money. That's responsible, right? And then I remember reading this. And again, Dante is not holy scripture, so I'm not trying to say that. But I remember being like, oh, dang, like that's actually pretty bad too. Like, like I was like, well, I'm not wasting my money. And it's like, oh, no, that's not great either. So now I waste my money, and, it's fine. No, I'm just kidding. All right, well, I don't want to get too far off topic here with Dante and Mansa Musa, although I think it does relate to what we're talking about here. Let's go back to this chapter, and let's wrap up what we've got here, Phil. So let's go back. It's time to say goodbye to the Elven King. As they leave and go towards Mirkwood. Tell me more about this and then the journey around the forest with Beorn.
Bilbo stammers out that he wants to give this gift. And so he just received some silver and pearls, a necklace of silver and pearls from Dane, and he wants to give it to the Elven King. Keep in mind, the Elven King just got the emeralds that he cherishes so much.
Yes.
And then here this hobbit comes up with some re-gifted pearls that he wants to hand over, but he accepts it so graciously. But at first he doesn't understand why he's getting it. And Bilbo gently confesses to partaking in all the wine and the bread. And also probably pouring out quite a bit of wine too. Like he just...
to empty the barrels, you think?
And you can't sell it if a dwarf's foot has...
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
or an entire dwarf body has submerged itself.
Yeah.
The barrels have to go too. And the exchanges here are so nice because everybody is calling each other these great names. So, oh, Bilbo the Magnificent. And I love how Bilbo has been through a lot and he's changed a lot, but he's still stammering out and not sure of his words. And the way it's written, he's even saying like, well, I thought, don't you know? And he sounds a little bit confused. I think he now recognizes just the sovereignty of the king and how much more important that is, because he's seen these powerful figures in battle and at play with each other.
Yeah, it does feel like Tolkien goes a bit out of his way to really have us recognize how different Bilbo is from these characters, despite the fact that he's done well in this story and has really had such a great positive impact. He's still like, this isn't his home. That makes sense. This episode, this chapter is called The Return Journey. Bilbo does have a home to go to. This is not his world. You see that in the exchange with the Elven King. You see it just a few paragraphs earlier in his final exchange with the dwarves. We don't know what he says to all of them, but we do have a short little back and forth between Bilbo and Balin. And Balin kind of very regally, very formally, says goodbye, good luck, wherever you fare. If you visit us again when our halls are made fair once more, then the feast shall indeed be splendid. And Bilbo's response is very kind of casual here. If ever you're passing my way, don't wait to knock. Tea is at 4, but any of you are welcome at any time, right? There's a bit of a difference of, okay, they're having these royal feast in their halls, and Bilbo's like, you can come have tea at my house at 4. And that's not a bad thing. That's not like that, but that reminds us, this isn't Bilbo's home.
Yes.
Right. And also just how much Bilbo has changed. He's like, tea's at 4, but you can come anytime. That's a very different Bilbo Baggins
than for the first
than
few
we
chapters.
originally met. But it does help us recognize, no, it is time for Bilbo to go home. He's not going to stay there. He's going to actually return. It's good for him to return and go back. And go back he does.
Yes. And as he gets closer and closer, that desire, that back inside, grows stronger and stronger. And the very last sentence is, I wish now only to be in my own armchair. And I love that Bilbo has changed, but he also hasn't fully changed. That side is still in there. And he wanted an adventure, and he got it. But he's also kind of done. But then we also know from the books that come later, the Lord of the Rings, we know that he thinks about it all the time, and he does want to go on one more adventure. It's not quite enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's a great place for us to end this chapter. We only have one more chapter. We'll be back with chapter 19 in our next episode, and that chapter is called The Last Stage, and in that chapter, Bilbo returns to the Shire. But before we go, we do have some listener feedback in this episode. Phil, can I read this one for us? Because you have not heard this yet, and so I want you to hear it out loud for the first time.
It'll be a surprise.
This is an email from Holly Lawson, who's written to us over the years. Thank you, Holly, for sending this email in. She has a question for us, and then I want to read this because she also has some feedback for you specifically, Phil.
Oh.
She says, hello, Phil and Daniel, longtime listener since the beginning of your podcast here. The discussion at the end of your most recent episode about Bilbo giving away the Arkenstone really got me thinking. This is from a few episodes back at this point. Like a good listener, State Farm is there. No, that's not. Like a good listener,
we have to make money somehow, y'all.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't tell you. This is the last season without ads. We're going to go all ads every 10 minutes. So you can imagine about 5-ish ads. I'm just kidding. Like a good listener, I've been trying to experience The Hobbit the way it was originally intended, separate from Lord of the Rings. So much so that I'd nearly forgotten that Bilbo was carrying the ring at this point in the story, except as an invisibility trick. I totally agree with you guys that I don't think Bilbo is being influenced by the ring's evil in his decisions, except maybe in lack of wisdom. He more so seems to be actively resisting in a way. But your discussion about the ring and the Arkenstone got me wondering. If there had been pressing need, do you think Bilbo would have been able to part with the One Ring at this point in the story like he parted with the Arkenstone?
Say the last part again. I want to make sure.
Do you think Bilbo would have been able to part with the One Ring at this point in the story in the same way where he takes the Arkenstone? He loves the Arkenstone, but he gives it to Bard as a bargaining chip in order to save his friends, or what he thinks will save his friends. Could he have done this with the One Ring?
I want to say that he could have, but I just don't think he could have. Because he didn't.
Well, but he didn't know it was special, though. He didn't know it was a special ring other than it just makes you invisible.
That's pretty special to me.
But not as much as the Arkenstone is. That's not really a bargaining chip. Hey, Thorin, come out of your mountain. We have this special ring.
No one else is looking for the ring.
Yeah.
Except for...
Who? I don't know.
Gollum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant...
He's quite upset about it.
Yeah.
But Bilbo doesn't give it to him, even though he knows he wants it.
So...
I don't think he could have. I also don't know if we'll ever really know.
No, you're not supposed to. And at this point, again, Tolkien, the writer, publishing this in 1937, is not thinking about the ring the same way.
Right.
Holly actually wrote, her 2 cents were that he would have been able to part with it if the need was very strong, especially if his friends were in imminent danger, but it would have been harder than parting with the stone. We know that, yes, I think he could have parted with it because he literally does part with it. In Fellowship of the Ring, he lets it go.
With a lot of help.
Yeah, but he still does. Yeah, yes, correct. Gandalf helps him make that decision, but it still is, he does it.
Yeah.
So, and that's after having it for 50-some years.
Okay.
So I think he could do it. I think it's hard. I think he could do it. Hobbits are more hardy in this kind of way.
Here's my modified statement.
No, it's too late. You said your piece. You own it.
He would not have parted with it. I think he could have parted with it.
Okay, all right. Well, she also has a PS here, which I thought you would enjoy here. For Phil, for your gem name poll. You've been talking about gem names here. So what are some of the options are Weights of Glory, That Hideous Strength.
Yes.
Did you have any more? Is that it? I think that's it. Those are the 2.
I also have one for office supply store called Clive's Staples.
Well, Holly says...
And then if they later turn that into a gym because no one needs paper anymore, that's where you go to get jacked.
So Holly votes for That Hideous Strength. She says, I imagine the public would be confused while simultaneously very intrigued by the name and want to know more about the place. Plus, Weight of Glory borders on cheesy for me. Kind of like Jesus deadlifts sweatshirts. Is this a thing? Have you heard of this?
I've never heard of that.
Jesus deadlifts sweatshirts.
Because he raises from the dead?
What? I guess that's the pun. Because yeah.
Amazing.
I like I think Weight of Glory, you could legitimately franchise
Weights
it.
of Glory.
Weights of Glory, sorry.
Yes.
I think Weights of Glory, that's like, how's it any different than Planet Fitness? You know what I mean? Or like
right.
Gold's Gym.
Honestly, what's the difference?
I know, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That Hideous Strength would be very different, though. Is it like, are you telling people to stop being hideous, come to the gym? Like, what's
you got to be careful
here?
with the word hideous in marketing. Yep.
So she Holly gives us one side note here. In this context, King Caspian totally sounds like a fast food franchise. Either a seafood one or a burger one with random seafood items on the menu. I like King Caspian as a burger place that has a lot of fish. Yeah, like a fillet of fish kind of on the menu somewhere. That's great. All right. So Holly said, thanks for all that you do.
Swordfish. Swordfish sticks.
That's great. You ever had swordfish? It's good, man.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that's really good.
It is good.
All right. Well, Phil, that's all we have for the episode. Any final thoughts from you before we wrap up?
That's it. Oh, I do. Since we've been talking about it a few times, the art for our top tier Patreoners, our top.
I think technically the term is Patreoners.
Our top patrons have now received their art. It was the 13 dwarves drawn out and printed on a yellow background.
Yellow background. I'm going to share it with on Patreon. I'll share the image. You want me to watermark it with something on it so like no one can steal it?
Wait till I send you the right file.
I'm just gonna take it. I'm gonna take a picture on my phone of the
poster that's printed out with the shiny paper
of the poster.
Exactly my fear.
I know. I'm gonna put it behind glass and then do that so you can see the reflection of my iPhone in the. I docked myself. People don't have an iPhone. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else would I have?
There's a 95% chance because they know you're in the United States.
That's right. Do you ever, listeners, write into us? Those of you who don't have iPhones, what are you doing? I'm just kidding. I don't want to start this battle.
You ever think you'll switch?
No, I can't stand the green. The Apple's so smart about this because it is legitimately the only thing that keeps me is iMessage. Like I actually don't care one way or the other.
You know that if you switch, then you'll be able to change the bubbles to whatever color you want.
Oh, that actually is. Yeah, but I always get annoyed with other people. Like in our small group, if someone new joins, it's like, oh, you're ruining our iMessage.
What really kills me about that particular colored green is that it violates Apple's user design guidelines. It's too bright of a green.
But is that on purpose to make you not want
to? They definitely do it on purpose.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, what's interesting is they said we're absolutely not doing RCS, which is the upgraded version of text messaging, which will allow you to do end-to-end encryption and all this other stuff if they implement it correctly, which is finally happening like literally this week. You can now do end-to-end encryption to Android phones. Before, your stuff was just very accessible, not super accessible, but it wasn't encrypted all the way to the next device. Now, they're basically pretty much the same, change the bubbles. But also, the only reason that Apple changed it, the theory is that China really wanted them to fix stuff because Apple was like, we're absolutely not changing it. And they started to lose market share in China. And then that was one of the things they did to try to adjust it. But that's for our
Tell me something
podcast.
I don't know.
Yeah, I should be on that show. All right. This episode is made possible by our patrons over at patreon.com. If you'd like to support the show, you too can then listen to a bonus episode each month, along with other rewards. Special thanks goes to John Marr, Emily Wakefield, Ryan Smith, Andrew Trophy, Becca Brown, Christiana Line, Ian Wooten, and Hannah Anderson for supporting us at our top tiers. Listener feedback can be emailed to hello@lamppostlistener.com. In the UK, it's hello. Not really. Leave us a voicemail at 406-646-6733. You can find all of our previous episodes, links, and book information at lamppostlistener.com. A review on Apple Podcasts would also help more listeners find the show and join our read-through. Thank you for coming along on this journey, and we will be back soon.
With the season finale.
Season finale, but not a series finale.